Hello and welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be learning about character methods in Java. If you watched the last video on wrapper classes, you'll know that every primitive data type in Java has a corresponding wrapper class. If I take the int data type, the corresponding wrapper class is the integer class. The float data type has the corresponding wrapper class as the float class. There, I didn't mention about the car data type. In this video, we're going to be looking only at the wrapper class of the car data type. The car data type is also a primitive data type. If you remember, we make wrapper classes for primitive data types so that we can use methods with our primitive data types. The corresponding wrapper class of the car data type is called character class. Like the parsing methods we've seen of the integer class or the double class, the character wrapper class also has many useful methods. In this video, we're going to look at 8 of these useful methods. The first method we're going to look at is the isDigit method. Now, most of the methods I'm going to be showing you now are all static methods. If you remember, a static method is any method that belongs to a class and not the object. This means that if I want to use the static method, I don't have to create an object of the class. So if I want to use methods of the character class, I don't have to create an object of the character class. I can directly use the name of the class, in this case character, the dot operator, and call whatever method I want to. These methods do not belong to the object of the character class, they belong to the character class itself. Now we'll look at a syntax for the isDigit method and see how we can use it in a real program. If you remember, characters include a large variety of things. They could include alphabets, basically letters, or they could also include numbers from 0 to 9, basically digits. The isDigit method is simply taking a car value as an input and is checking if this car value is a digit or not. It's checking if this car value is anything from 0 to 9. So in this case, if my car value ch was set to 0, 0 is a digit. And since 0 is a digit, the isDigit method is going to return true. Our method is either going to return true or false. Since our method is going to return either true or false, we'll create a boolean variable test and we'll store the output of this isDigit method. Since it's a static method, we're going to call it using the name of the class, which is character. We're going to use the dot operator and we're going to call the isDigit method. I can directly put in my character. So let's just put in the digit 0. Here 0 is a digit. And when I enter this, it's checking if it's a digit or not. Since it's a digit, it's going to return true. And the true will be stored in this variable test. Let's add a println statement to print a variable test. Now we can just run the program. When I run the program, we're going to get our output as true because this is a digit. Even if it was something like 9, since this is also a digit, we're again going to get true as our output. If I change this character to another symbol or another character, maybe something like the letter A, this is definitely not a digit. Therefore, the isDigit method is just going to return a false. The test variable is going to store that false, and the println statement is going to print false. When I run this program, we do get false as our output. Next, we're going to be looking at the isLetter method. The isLetter method is also pretty simple. We're just checking if the car value ch is a letter or not. Like the isDigit method, this is just going to print a true or a false. If our letter ch that I'm entering is a letter like A or C or Z, it's going to return true. If it was a digit or a special character, since it's not a letter, it's going to return false. To show this, I created a variable of the car data type called f. Let's say in my program, I want to check if this variable f is a letter or not. Now in this case, we can see that it's a letter, but in most programs, you're going to be taking it as input. Then you'll have to check if it's a letter using something like the isLetter method. First, I'm going to add a println statement. In my println statement, I'm going to call the isLetter method. Since the isLetter method is also static like the isDigit method, we're going to call it using the name of the class itself. We're going to say character.isLetter and we're going to add our brackets. In the brackets, we're going to enter our character. In this case, the character we're entering is the variable ch. So the isLetter method is now going to check if this variable ch, since f is a letter or is an alphabet, this is going to return true and the println statement is going to print true. When I run this program, I do get my output as true. If I change this to a special character, maybe something like the asterisk, then even though this is a character, it's not a letter anymore. The isLetter method is now going to return false. When we run this program, we do get our output as false. Now we're going to be looking at the isLetter or digit method. If you look at the isDigit method, it returns true if our value is a digit. Our isLetter method returns true if our value is a letter. Now the is letter or digit method is really simple. It's just going to return true if it's either a letter or a digit. So it's only going to return false when I enter special characters. To show this, we'll set our variable ch to the asterisk, which is a special character. And in the println statement, we're going to call the is letter or digit method. It's again a static method. So we're going to say character.is letter or digit. And in our brackets, we're going to add this variable ch. Here, this is not a letter. It's not an alphabet. It is also not a digit. So this is going to return false. And the println statement is going to print false. When I run this program, I do get my output as false. If I change this to maybe something like A is a letter, it's a member of the alphabet, so it's gonna print true. Now if I changed my car variable ch to a character like A is a letter. Since it's a letter, the is letter or digit method is going to return true. When I run this program, I do get my output as true. Even if I put in a digit, maybe something like 8, it's again going to print true because even though it's not a letter, it is still a digit. Most of the method names we used are just simple English. The is lowercase method is just going to check if our character value ch is in uppercase or lowercase. If it's in lowercase, it's going to return true. If it's in uppercase, it's going to return false. To understand this, let's just use a letter. So maybe a letter like B. In our println statement, we're going to call the method is lowercase, again using the name of the class and not an object because it is a static method. We're going to pass ch as our input. We're checking if this character or this car variable ch is in uppercase or lowercase. This B is definitely in uppercase. So this method is going to return false and the println statement is going to print false. When I run this program, we do indeed get false as our output. If I change this B to maybe something like lowercase b, we're now going to get our output as true. But what if I pass something which is not a letter? If it's not a letter, it can't be uppercase, it can't be lowercase as well. In this case, if I pass the digit 9, there's no way to say that this digit is uppercase or lowercase. The method is just going to return false. When I run this program, we do again get false as our output. Even with special characters like the @ symbol, we still get our answer as false. There's no way to say that it's uppercase or lowercase. This method only works well when you're using letters. Then we have the is uppercase method. The is uppercase method is obviously just the exact opposite of this lowercase method. If the car value ch is in uppercase, it's going to return true. If it is in lowercase, or if it's a digit, or if it's a special character, it's just going to return false. To show this, we're going to take a car variable ch and we're going to set this to m, uppercase M. Then we're going to call our method. This method is also a static method, so we're again going to use the character class to call the method and not an object. We're going to pass our variable ch as an input or as a parameter for this method. Since our car value m is in uppercase, this is going to print true. When I run this program, we do get true as our output. Now what if I change this car value m to lowercase m? Now since the car value is in lowercase, the method is going to return false. When I run this, I do get false as our output. Now we're going to be looking at the to uppercase method. Till now, all the character methods that we've used, like the is digit method, or the is lowercase method, or the is uppercase method, they always had a boolean output. They return either a true or a false. The to uppercase method is going to be different. Like before, it's going to take a car value as the parameter or the input, and it's going to return the uppercase version of this car value. It's basically going to return a car value again. It's not going to return a boolean. So if I want to store the output of the to uppercase method in a variable, I'll have to create a car variable again, not a boolean variable. So to use this method, I already created a car variable called ch and I set this equal to lowercase m. Now we'll create another car variable to store the output that's returned by my to uppercase method. So we'll create a variable called tester and then we're going to call our to uppercase method. This is also a static method, so you can use the character class. We're going to say character dot to uppercase, and in our brackets we're going to enter whatever character we want to convert to uppercase. In this case, since we want to convert our variable ch to uppercase, we're going to add a variable ch over here. This method is just going to take this car value m as input and it's going to return the uppercase version of m. So it's going to return uppercase m. So the output is just going to be uppercase m. So now if I add a println statement to print the variable tester, you're going to notice that it's just going to print uppercase m, not lowercase m. What's important to understand is the to uppercase method is just returning the uppercase version of this character. It's not changing this variable itself. To show this, I added another println statement to print the variable ch. When I run this program now, you're going to notice that we do get lowercase m. This shows that our method did not change this variable ch. It just returned the uppercase version of whatever character it contained. Now we're going to be looking at the two lowercase method. Like the two uppercase method, the two lowercase method is going to take a char value as the parameter or the input, and it's going to return the lowercase version of this character. Let's add a println statement to call this method. So here, I'm again going to be calling the two lowercase method using the character class because this is also static like all our other methods. And as the parameter, I have the uppercase version of the character D. When I run this program, the two lowercase method is going to convert this character D to lowercase d, and it's going to return lowercase d. The println statement is just going to print this return value. It's going to print lowercase d. When I run this program, we do get lowercase d as our output. A question that you might have is, what if in our two uppercase and two lowercase methods, I do enter a char value, but it's not a letter. We can only convert alphabets or letters to uppercase or to lowercase. If you enter any other character, for example here I'm entering a digit 8, the two lowercase and the two uppercase methods are just going to return the same character. Here it's just going to return the character 8 again, and then the println statement is going to print 8. When I run this program, we get our output as 8. I'd also like to point out another important case. Here I'm calling the two uppercase method, but the char value that I entered is already in uppercase. I already entered uppercase F. So in this case, since it's already in uppercase, it's just going to return the same char value. When I run this program, we get uppercase F as our output. Since it's already in uppercase, it's going to leave it as it is. Even with the two lowercase method, you'll observe the same thing. If I take lowercase k and add it as my input for the two lowercase method, since it's already in lowercase, it's just going to return the same character again. It's not going to modify it. When I run this program, I get lowercase k again. Since our char value is already in lowercase, the method is not going to do anything. And finally, we have a very important method. It's called the isWhitespace method. The isWhitespace method is a pretty simple method. Like our other methods like the isDigit method or the isLetter method, it's going to return true if the char value that I'm entering as the parameter is a space and false if it is not a space. If you aren't aware, in Java, even spaces are considered as characters. The isWhitespace method basically checks if the parameter is a space or not. Since it's going to return a boolean output, let me first create a boolean variable. So I created a boolean variable called space. Like all our character methods, this is also a static method. So I'm going to call it using the character class. I'm just going to say character dot is white space, and in my brackets I'm going to enter a character. Now since I want to check if it's a space or not, let me first enter a space. This is going to be a character. It's just a space. Since we did enter a space, the isWhitespace method is going to return true, and our boolean variable space is going to store that true. When I add this println statement to print the variable space, it's just going to print true. This shows that this character value that I've entered is a space. If I remove the space and add a character like ampersand, now this is definitely not a space. It's some other character. So the isWhitespace method is now going to return false. The boolean variable space is going to store false, and the println statement is going to print false. When I run this program, we're going to get our output as false. But how exactly is this method helpful? Let's say I took a string, maybe something like hope you enjoyed this video, and I want to count the number of words in the string. By using the isWhitespace method, I can exactly count where we have the spaces in the string and therefore find out the number of words I have in the string. This is just one of the ways we can use the isWhitespace method. It's a very useful method, and that was most of our character methods. In a different video, I'm going to be talking about another method called char@. method. All of these methods are really helpful, and it's going to be extremely helpful if you remember them. Thank you for watching and have a great day.